말 잘 듣는 기망새 출동.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss.
아 그럼 위로 가지. 말 잘 듣지. 딱 가고 사장실도 딱 가고 딱 가서 생긴 게 이상해. 여기가 아니었어.
Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
헐, 근데 왜 사장실이 바뀌었지? 신기하다.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that, yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
우와. 쩌네요, 님.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar.
아니 무슨 사장실에 이런 데가 있냐?
In his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Yo.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
진짜?
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
왜 자꾸 죽는다 그래? 나 안 죽어. 응? 우와! 우와, 뭐야 여기?
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, in the eyeballs of the man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
미안해.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly. And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
어?
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
뭔데? 나 죽은 거야? 어? 나 죽었나봐. 나 죽었어. 버튼 사운드? 뭔데? 크레딧? 흠잡을 곳 하나 없는 바로 그 내레이터? 미안해. 다시 돌려보내줘. 잘할게 앞으로. 응? 미안해. 와, 스크린샷 잘 찍었네. 올, 뭐야 이건? 부자가 되는 길도 있는 건가? 이야, 나 근데 진짜 천국에 온 거야? 올. 응? 누가 계신데? 어? 아니 방금 누가 계시지 않았어? 저긴 뭐야? 이야.
Stanley pushed the number 6. He pushed the number 6. Then he pushed the number 4. Let's see. Stanley walked through the green door.
너비 간 것까지 다 해놨네. 미친. 전시를 이렇게까지 해놨네. 요 자유 엔딩. 씨발 존나 다 보여줘. 미쳤다 여기. 나 엄청난 곳에 온 것 같아. 아, 사람이 아니라 제가 왔다 갔다 한 거구나. 그래요.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save those two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be
정말?
walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you.
오 잠깐.
Don't let
헬로. 굿.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
오케이. 오케이. 나 진짜 이번엔 진짜 새길로 안 감.
When Stanley came
나
to a set
진짜
of two
이번에는
open
마지막
doors, he
문까지
entered the
그냥
door
진짜
on his
눈
left.
앞만 보고 감. 진짜임. 믿어주셈.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his coming to a staircase.
물론이지.
Stanley walked
무조건이지.
upstairs to his boss's office.
그런 느낌이 들었어. 돈은 훔치려고 쓰는 거야. 물론 네 것 말고. 아무튼 사랑스러운 지갑이야. 잠깐 본 거. 극한의 화장실 미친. 잠깐 구경했어. 못 보던 거라서. 오케이.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf. Look, Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
아이씨.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward
Okay.
into the opened passageway.
오케이. 진짜 말 잘 듣기로 함. 진짜임. 해보세요. 얼마나 말 잘 들음. 아이 말 잘 듣잖아요. 이거 보세요.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
이래도 지랄 저래도 씨발.
저 왔습니다.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
아까 근데 그렇게 오지 말라고 하시더니 왜 일로 데려오시는 거예요? 여기 오면 안 된다면서요.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
그렇군요. 완전 처음 한 사실이네요. 허허허허. 진짜 몰랐습니다.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control.
야, 진짜 신기하다.
It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
근데 씨발 말 들어주고 싶은데 저 위에 저거 너무 궁금한데. 와, 저기 뭐가 있다. 명령어 대기 중? 아니야. 망새 말 잘 들어. 나 말 잘 들을 거야. 말 들으려고 온 거야 여기. 진짜로. 해봐. 가는 중. 말 들으러 가는 중.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
아야, 네가 눌러. 왜 나한테 시켜 이걸? 새끼야. 응?
Oh, sorry. You didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that.
몰라. 갈래.
I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star.
Okay.
It's your story now. Shape it to your
고작
heart's
2분?
desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time
조졌다.
left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start.
조졌다.
What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are?
3
A moment of solace before you're obliterated. All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what?
뭐부터 하라고?
I'm going to put some extra time on the clock, why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now?
사
Or did
위에
you
있었나?
just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these
오로
colored
간다.
ones, or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything,
나 해낼 수
anything, something here
있거든.
will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose
찾았다.
in this place is?
뭐야?
Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you.
뭔데?
That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's
뭐지?
just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world,
안돼.
that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't.
안돼.
Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big...
아 미안해.
here. Just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life? Or will you let it go?
아 진짜 미안해. 아 진짜 미안해.
Choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me. All a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say happily ever up.
나레이터가 숫자 버튼 순서대로 누른다고 해결될 거 같냐고 비웃었어? 진짜 어지럽네 개새끼. 그랬구만. 새로운 콘텐츠 한번 해보자.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
오, 이게 이번에 새로 나온 콘텐츠인가?
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
이야.
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure. Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
출발. 새로운 콘텐츠.
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
오케이.
All right. Let's see. It's the jump circle.
이 게임의 점프가 어딨어? 진짜? 에이씨, 뭐야 이게?
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right?
에이.
Goodness, another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content?
그래, 장난하지 마.
Then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh wait.
아, 그래.
Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
고! 새로운 콘텐츠를 플레이해 주셔서 감사합니다.
That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
어? 근데 뭔가 게임이 깨졌...
Psst! Stanley! Come over here! In the vent! I want to show you something!
아니, 점프 주면... 아씨, 새끼 저거 또 궁금한... 이게 더 궁금해. 씨발. 뭐가 더 궁금한 게 만드는지 아는구만 이제. 야, 왜 앞으로 가면 존나 느려? 뭐야, 왜 이렇게 느려?
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past, and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
야, 너 이거 진짜 버그인 거 같은데? 얘야, 너 이거 진짜 버그인 거 같아. 진짜 안 가져. 이 개새끼 이거 일부러 이렇게 만든 건지 버그인지. 앉는 버튼 안 누른 지 오래됐는데 처음부터 안 눌렀는데. 이게 뭐야? 어? 어?
I call it the memory zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
미친. 추억 이지랄.
You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how
2013.
wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013 when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something.
헐.
Oh, the waste.
헐. 이걸 캡처해놨네. 헐. 참나. 이야. 아 그러네. 라오버 적혀있는데 테이프로 가려놨네. 좋았던 한때인데 왜 씨발 저 사진은 저기가 숨겨놓은 거야 씨발. 안 좋았나 보네. 이야. 추억 여행. 그 일이 있었다는 것을 웃어봐요. 헐. 헐, 이거 데모 버전 처음 메인이었나봐. 헐. 달성 불가능. 5년 동안 플레이하지 마십시오. 존나 웃기네. 저거 아까 내가 봤던 엔딩이잖아. 어? 헐. 팬이 키우던 햄스터 이름이 스탠리. 뭐야? 아이씨.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
어? 응? 노래의 인물이지라. 지하는 뭐냐? 안 열리네. 신기하다. 응? 여기 2층으로 올라왔네.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
얘 굉장히 불만이 많은데? 이번 그 DLC 그게 나온 거에 대한 불만이 상당해 보이는데? 진지한 방. 못 가네.
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again.
이번엔 지하 갈 수 있는 거야?
Wait, hang on.
Hmm?
I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here?
뭘로? 어? 뭐야?
Oh no. God no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well.
리뷰.
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
그러니까 닉네임도 박제돼 있네. 존나 웃기네 저거. 아. 진짜 상상도 못 하겠다.
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down.
뒤끝 있는
Perhaps
편?
the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered. What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today.
뭔데 이게?
It's always been my motto.
씨발 설마
I
스킵
do
버튼이야?
anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have. And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of Well, there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45... Stanley! Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours.
아, 그래요?
You've just been frozen there.
아, 지금 2시 15분쯤 됐으니까.
Oh, Stanley, you're back.
예.
You're back.
예.
Oh my goodness. I had so
다시 이야기할 사람이 생겼대.
Stanley, I think it's been a week. No, 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time, just sitting here, not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like...
미안.
Oh, hello, it's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one
헐, 그렇게나 오래
entire year?
지났어?
Let me describe it for
그럼 좀 더. 어디 갔어? 야.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs down review and make all of their pitiful
승질내지 마. 야. 야. 야.
The end is never the end, 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 is never
나 왔어.
the end, is never the end, is
나 왔어.
never the end, is never the end, is never the end, is
뒤에서 물 떨어지는 소리가 점점 많이 나는디? 나 근데 어떡하냐 미안해서. 저 어떡하니 이거 멈출 수도 없다 이제. 어이구. 아 이거 어떡하냐 이거 미안해서. 아 이거 어떡하지 이거. 아이 미안한데 이거. 아이 큰일났네 미안하네 이거. 아야 미안해 이거. 아이 큰일났네 이거. 점점 부셔지네. 큰일났네. 아이 미안하네 이거. 어떡하지? 오! 야 이쁘다. 야 누르길 잘했네. 이쁘다. 아 왜이래. 왜이래 이뻤는데 분명히. 이게 무슨 소리여? 분위기가 왜 이래? 얼마나 돈 거야 시간이? 어? 어? 뭐야? 뭔가 다시 뭐야 여기. 와. 그냥 멸망해버린 거요? 황당하네. 멀리 뭐가 있다고요? 난 안 보이는데? 네 모니터에 뭐 묻은 거 아니야? 뭐야?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
화려해졌다.
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
화려해졌네. 뭐가 달라진 건가? 아까랑 별 다른 걸 못 느끼겠는데?
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra-deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra-deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever the Stanley Parable 2.
오, 뭐야? 오!
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
투자자 쇼케이스 뭔데?
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
뭐지? 그들이 돌아왔다. 두 개의 문. 아니 씨발 이게 뭐야? 아니 이거 다른 게임들 씨발 로고 따라한 거잖아. 이 씨발 다른 게임 로고 따라한 거잖아요. 어지럽네. 뭐가 달라진 건데 이건.
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
숫자 2로 수다. 속편은 재밌다. 아 진짜 어지럽네 이 게임. 무대구만. 새로운 콘텐츠. 아, 이야. 뭐야? 이야.
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
게임을 플레이하는 플레이어의 이름을 말하는 버튼? 이야. 안심을 주는 양동이? 스크린샷 금지?
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version,
뭐야,
the
가능하네.
office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
언젠간 잘 될 거야. 12살 생일 축하한다, 조카 녀석아.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get Well Someday it is.
뭐야? 이 풍선이 언제부터 있었던 거야?
Actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision. We're moving on.
공짜로 새롭고 쉬운 도전 과제 얻기. 이렇게 간단하다니 믿어지지 않아요. 정말? 공짜 도전 과제. 지금 당장 달성해 가세요. 레버를 당기세요. 새로운 도전 과제를 받으세요. 그 이상 절차는 없습니다. 지금 당장 달성해 가세요.
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes. You see, you'll come to this leap. What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
뚠뚠뚠. 아이씨. 점프 가능한 원 이거 아까 다 써서 없잖아.
Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's a... Oh wait. You already spent all your
네,
jumps the first time we saw the jump circle. Oh well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
뭐야, 다시 충전 안 해줘? 새로 업데이트된 레이트레이싱이 된 더 많은 같지만 다른 좋은 느낌의 후속작. 뭐래 씨발. 뭐라는 거야 저게. 게임을 플레이하는 플레이어의 이름을 말하는 버튼?
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
그래, 그 이름이나 말해줘 봐라. 내 이름이 뭔데? 맞추면 내가 인정한다.
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim.
뭐야, 씨발, 순 억지잖아.
Falling in love.
Jim.
Whoa, hold on. I wasn't finished setting up the backstory. If you don't properly roleplay as Jim, then you'll never understand the impact of this button. Otherwise, it's just a stupid button that says somebody else's name. Okay, we're doing it again, and this time let me finish first. Now, allow yourself to become Jim.
Jim.
All right, fine, whatever. It's just a meaningless button that says Jim. Are you happy now? Get out of here. I'm done with this button. Why don't you go humiliate me in front of a different feature that I worked very hard on?
Jim.
See, if you'd only played along, that would have been your name the button says, but no. Instead, I can't even think about it. I'm taking the Jim button away.
Jim. 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 Jim.
승질 더러운 거 봐. 쥐가 눌러보라 해서 눌러봤더니만은 참 어이가 없네.
Maybe
눌러보라며.
I'll only let people named Jim play the Stanley Parable 2. They would appreciate what I've created here. An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, it will go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
이야, 뭐 많이 만들어 놓긴 했는데 어떻게 영양가가 이렇게 하나도 없냐? 어? 어떻게 이럴 수 있어? 어쩜 이래? 이건 뭔데? 설정하기 세계 챔피언? 안 열리잖아. 어디 보자. 당신은 여기에 있습니다. 나 저거 한번 해보고 싶네. 또 우리 방은 또 양동이랑 또 사연이 깊지 않습니까? 안심을 주는 양동이. 저희 방엔 또 유대감을 주는 양동이가 있죠?
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try.
할 수 있게 해준다고?
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
야, 나 이거 보니까 나 스페이스 엔지니어 내 방 어떻게 만들지 알겠어. 입구 이렇게 만들어야겠다. 내 스페이스 엔지니어 방 이렇게 만들어야겠다. 입구. 와, 개 이쁘겠다. 결정. 나 근데 이 양물이 언제 내려오나?
Awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
응? 버튼명이 바뀌었다고요? 독점 짐이라고 말하는 버튼. 아, 존나 웃기네. 미친놈이네 이거. 오케이. 구경해봐야겠네. 끝이 없는 구멍. 존나 개소리를 과학적으로 써놨네.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you
진짜?
like. A stunning leap forward for video game. You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top and we can continue onward.
G를 눌러서 위로 돌아가래.
Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the
왜
top.
무한이라며?
Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things. Okay, Stanley, I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity.
끝이
From
보이는 것
one
같은데?
perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready.
그래? 그럼 나는 물 좀 떠와야겠다. 뭐야? 나한테 아무 말도 안 했어 얘? 이야, 의외네. 무슨 말 하고 있을 줄 알았더니.
Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel. Oh, for heaven. You see, I was right. The problem is you.
왜?
The problem is that you like holes too
아니,
much.
아니 왜?
A normal person would have said, yep, that's an infinite hole right there. Goes on forever till the end of time. Don't need to see it all, but not you. Oh, no, 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 no. You have a weird sort of... Oh. Did the hole seem even shorter to you this time? I couldn't help but feel like you spent a little less time in there than you did before. I mean, admittedly, I didn't make an infinite hole, but I didn't think it was that not infinite. Well, I suppose once again there's nothing to do here. If you decide you've had enough of the hole, you can hit the teleport button and come join me up above.
야, 딱 봐도 짧아졌잖아. 뭐야?
Had enough? I'm
아니?
positively thrilled. Gosh, how could I have guessed? You're back in the hole. If this starts to become a thing where...
더 짧아졌네.
Oh, okay.
오케이, 해봐 그러면.
I'm starting to become
내가 구멍을
extremely
막아주겠어.
certain that the hole is not only not infinite, but that it's growing steadily less and less infinite. I suspect that I'm starting to hit the point where it's no longer feasible to call the hole infinitely deep, even by the lax overall standards for accountability in marketing.